She should have stayed at home. She should have stayed at home. She should have stayed at home, regardless. She got kids. If she ain't had no kids, that's law enforcement. So let them do their job. What's wrong with these people?
I want to show you the new video of a different angle of the Renee Good attack. We didn't actually, forgive me, we didn't actually show this earlier, but you need to see it.
Like and subscribe. Hope my audio and vision and everything's on point. See, he's talking to the cop nice and calm. I'll give you that. She shouldn't have been there, though. She been right there for about like 3 minutes, if not 4 minutes, before the cop even came over there to see her. She shouldn't have been there.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates.
I guess if the ICE agent had COVID, then they keep their mask on their face. So I guess ICE, y'all get COVID, keep your mask. I don't know.
Every morning, just so you know, it'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking.
Okay, so you've got the wife of Renee Good out there agitating and trying to, I guess, intimidate or just irritate the ICE officers that are there.
You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of.
So this is weird. The wife tries to get into the car.
No, just that. This is where she see the cop. She sees the cop. They are eye-to-eye contact right here. So don't be like, oh, she did. Yes, she did. She sees him with his phone out, recording her.
After insulting the officer. Now, if you recall, this particular officer who was there, who thought he was going to get run over by this 4,000-pound vehicle, had already had a pretty near-death experience where he had gotten dragged by a car when trying to apprehend somebody once before. So he, may have had some fear going into this situation when she points the car at him, which we're going to get to. And it's worth understanding that. It's also worth understanding that you never aim your car at an officer. You also never, let me be really clear, okay? You never say, I'm going to defy your orders. I'm not going to get out of the car. I'm not going to get out of the car and I'm going to speed off.
Right, you can't do
just
that.
Don't do. I mean, the police officer says, pull over, you pull over. Period. End of story. I mean, this is what happens, and it's happened before, right? They say, well, why did that person get shot? They were running away. You do not run away from police. I can't say that enough. Let's continue watching.
Did y'all hear that? Drive, baby, drive. That was from the wife. They said fucking bitch. Damn.
If we go back again, what you see is that she was coming straight for him.
Yeah.
All right, let's watch that again.
The thing about it is you can show this video to everybody on the planet, all these lefties and Democrats. They're going to still find the fault of the ICE agent. Not saying that it's her fault it's her fault. She should have been at home. That's what I'm trying to get at. She should stay at home with her kids. They keep saying she's a mother. She likes to read. She should have been at home doing poetry and with her kids and all that. Period. She should never been in Minnesota. I don't think she even lived in Minnesota. So that's another thing. And she was a ringleader. And once again, she was there for about 3 to 4 minutes before the ICE even came to her to say, hey, move your car. And not only just that, didn't get out the car.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car. Oh. Fucking bitch.
And then that happens. So now the left is looking at that video along with the other video, the original video that they had that what didn't actually show the vehicle coming straight at him, such as that did. And they are immediately blaming, of course, law enforcement, including now calling on Kristi Noem to be impeached. You have to look no further than The View to get that point of view out there today.
The View, really?
There will be
we
oversight,
go.
and I think that right now there are people in Congress that are interested in impeaching Kristi Noem, and I think she will be held to account one day. But let me say this about this killing. This was an unlawful.
MAGA Republican. We got to keep voting red. We got to get out here and vote during these midterms. Just get out there and vote, period. These Democrats, when they come to voting, they go out there, they go out in droves. And you see how they go out and protest on anything. So just imagine how we need to go ahead and do our thing, get out there and vote. Just as crazy they go out there and do these insane riots, peacefully protesting. Yeah, we got to get out there and vote. Vote these people up out of there. Vote them out of there.
Killing. It was against DOJ policy to shoot at a vehicle that's leaving the scene.
And when I talk to you guys, I have written nothing down. I'm going by off memory, off the cuff, because I'm being real, authentic, letting you guys know what's real. I'm real. Like and subscribe.
It's against the Supreme Court ruling in 1985, that sort of deadly use of force in shooting at a vehicle. So we all know that it's unlawful, regardless of whether or not you believe she was an agitator, regardless of whether or not.
There's no need to believe she was an agitator. She was there for 3.5 minutes blocking traffic. Her and her wife, literally. That's the bullshit. That's that gaslighting. That's that right there. That's the bullshit.
You believe she was in the way. The bottom line is the officer's actions were unlawful. That was an unlawful killing. It was illegal from a legal perspective. That's very black and white for me. What's interesting to me is the way that this administration is saying that they are being transparent when, in fact, there is a shadow investigation going on by the federal.
Jump in because she's saying that was unlawful what he did. And I would just ask the question, like, is it unlawful to have some kind of self-defense if you think that you're about to be run over and you're trying to stop the car from running you over? Is it unlawful to react? Because I think in that particular case, you know, and people have talked about this, if you were to change this around and this had been, say, Biden's DHS and you had a MAGA person there, a MAGA guy with all kinds of MAGA paraphernalia, and he had taken.
Why they got the celebrating. And then they were saying about celebrating Charlie Kirk situation, Halloween costumes and all that stuff. All of a sudden now they care about the white woman. They care about Whitey all of a sudden.
Aim at the officer, then you know that they absolutely would have backed him. So this, don't forget, is all colored by this TDS effect. Not that changes anything. I mean, the bottom line remains, you do not point your vehicle at an officer, an armed officer,
period,
because they are going to act in their self-interest and in their self-defense.
Right. They're in a hostile environment already. So you already, yeah, you're making it worse. And then they got whistles. They honking their horn. She's right there honking her horn. She probably even had a whistle. Probably, I think her wife probably had a whistle. But they was right there agitating, blocking traffic, not just ICE, but traffic. Period. Cars had to go around them.
For that to be illegal is really troubling. It's not.
Government without the state. Law enforcement being involved. They whisked this officer away out of state without being interviewed by state and local authorities. They denied state and local authorities the ability to review the crime scene. They impounded the car. So why we're seeing so many different vantage points is because the state law.
I believe the state and federal are two different situations. One is higher and one is lower. I believe the federal is higher.
Enforcement had to ask the public for video.
She said
And
she
the
a
public's
lawyer.
coming through, right? I don't think we would have seen that without the public actually contributing to this. And that actually changed the story even more, by the way, benefiting the actual ICE officer that fired those shots. Don't tell Ilhan Omar that, because by the way, she's got a whole other thing going on with the latest and greatest. And we covered this on the show earlier today on the live show. I mean, my gosh, Ilhan Omar was trying to squeeze another $1 million to a Somali restaurant that said it was going to be, something for Minnesota's youth hope or something to attack a drug crisis. It was like, sorry, heard that one before, for goodness sakes. Anyway, she's trying to divert the story away from the microscope being on her for these allegations that she was involved in the fraud to something else. And so we see her all over the airwaves doing this.
See, from the recordings that we see, is there anything that you believe was being done that should not have been done by Macklin Good? The administration says she was blocking the road. They are claiming this is an act of terrorism.
Yeah, Renee Nicole Good, as you hear her say, she's not mad. She's sitting in her car, peacefully waving cars to get by. This agent, as you see, gets out of his car, automatically starts running.
Peacefully waving for cars to get by. She was blocking traffic. She should have been doing that. That's against the law, I believe. Am I right?
Towards her, trying to open her door. She feels scared. She tries to turn the wheel away. And then you see the other officer, who can clearly see the car is moving, move towards the front of the car, which, if they are saying that he has 10 years on service and is trained, he should know that you shouldn't be trying to get in front of.
You shouldn't be married to your brother.
Car. And so it is
Allegedly.
not acceptable.
You're nasty.
So that's her side. I want to go to Tom Homan, who's part of the investigation, but has not seen everything yet, has not seen as much as Kristi Noem has said. He was on the weekend shows, including NBC, and this was his response.
I want to stay on this question, which is about the way in which the woman who was shot and killed is being labeled as a domestic terrorist. Just to be clear, is anyone who protests ICE a domestic terrorist in the eyes of the administration?
I can't say that. It's a case-by-case basis. But, if you look up the definition of terrorism, is there violence? Is there threat of violence based on an ideology that wants to change the way the government does what we do? Look up the definition of terrorism.
But was Secretary Noem correct to label her a domestic terrorist, Mr. Homan?
Look, we don't know I don't know what Secretary Noem knows and what I know. I can tell you is what they did is illegal. And if you look up this definition of terrorism, it certainly could fall within that definition if you look at the definition of terrorism.
But you don't have evidence.
Pardon me?
You don't have evidence that she's a domestic terrorist.
I don't know what Secretary has that I don't. I'm not going to judge what the Secretary says, but if you look up the definition of terrorism, it certainly can fall within that. But I think we all got to agree there was no reason for this lady to do what she did. There is no reason to be there. If you want to protest, protest, but don't actively impede and interfere, and certainly don't drive a 4,000-pound vehicle toward an officer.
Boom. Okay, so don't drive a 4,000-pound vehicle towards an officer. Period. End of story. Like, you had me at that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a tragedy. But I think we need to be somewhat thoughtful about how they're trying to make this into suddenly, like, what, we're supposed to be able to drive all our vehicles straight towards officers and they're not able to do anything? I don't think so. I really am troubled by that. But as we look at the lawsuit that was just filed right now, it's clear you do have a state, a city that is literally
Poopy pants Joe Biden and crackling hyena laughing Kamala Harris. It's all their fault. The border was open. The border is wide open. 20 million people, if not more or less. I don't know, but it was too many people, period. And there's a man. So now Trump got to clean it up. It's crazy. It's their fault. Harris and Biden's fault, period.
literally, well, I guess metaphorically on fire. And yet they're using this as a way to try to kick the federal government out. We have federal versus state for a reason. We're set up constitutionally with the idea that the federal government is in control over who ultimately is in the country. And so if you're illegally in the country, then the federal government has the right to kick you out.
Hello.
So this is probably going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court. And then what happens when they lose? Then do they take to the streets again? I mean, how is any of that justified? Ilhan wants to know, how are the investigations into all of the illicit activity and the fraud that was going down? How is that justified? Well, I think we know, but she's panicking. She was on the airwaves this weekend saying this.
I'm so exhausted in trying to ask what any of this, information has led to you finding any criminals that you have indicted that explains why you are wasting so much of our taxpayer resources and also
Wait a minute. You waste our tax money on bullshit, send it overseas and bogus ass daycares. Y'all bogus for that. You shouldn't be in Congress. Period. American. Pure blood.
terrorizing our communities in the amount of federal law enforcement agents that you have in the streets of our city and our state. There needs to be some sort of justification.
Well, there is. Is there not? I mean, I think this is it.
Of the 87 people charged, all but 8 are of Somali descent. And that has added to the spotlight being put specifically on your community.
Exactly. In other words, they're not choosing to go to, I don't know, Iowa right now. They're in Minnesota for a reason, because that's where all the fraud was. And they're finding more and more every day.
Good afternoon, beautiful people. I need you all to lock in, because what you're about to hear is no longer speculation, no longer rumor, and definitely not some internet conspiracy theory. This is coming directly from a state audit in Minnesota, not from activists, not from politicians, but from career auditors whose entire job is to quietly follow the money. And what they found is jaw-dropping. State employees fabricated documents, backdated records, and covered up the mismanagement of hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars only after auditors showed up asking questions. This is a cover-up. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Nellie Moran. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to support the channel and help get us to 100K subs.
This was definitely the most egregious thing I have seen, maybe in my whole time working at OLA.
After 27 years with the Office of the Legislative Auditor, a statement like that from Judy Randall means something. After past suspicions, she says her most recent audit proved state workers were fabricating documents to cover up mismanagement of taxpayer money.
So these documents should exist.
Amazing.
They didn't. We asked for them. All of a sudden, they now exist. And in at least one case, it was created wholesale and backdated by 2 years to give the impression that it had always been there and been done.
Minnesota
So the
is the
person
new
blowing the whistle
Gotham.
here is Judy Randall.
Minnesota, the new Gotham. Wow.
Legislative auditor with 27 years of experience at the Minnesota Office of the Legislative Auditor. She has nearly 3 decades of experience, and her career depends on precision, restraint, and evidence. And she is shocked by what she's seen. She said this was definitely the most egregious thing that I have seen in my entire time working at the Office of the Legislative Auditor. And I believe her, because this blatant level of fraud is disgusting and, quite frankly, exhausting. Her statement alone should have triggered alarm bells across the state, because when auditors talk like that, it means that the paper trail is hideous.
Are new questions about whether the state is tracking your tax dollars after a stunning revelation at the Capitol today.
Multiple employees at the Department of Human Services are tonight under investigation after a new audit from the legislative auditor found pervasive and continued issues in grant management.
Investigative reporter Kirsten Swanson has spent months tracking oversight issues within DHS. She's live right now at the state capitol. Kirsten.
Kevin and Lindsay, the legislative auditor, told lawmakers today that they discovered multiple DHS employees backdated or created documentation during that audit. She described it as a systemic effort that undermines the audit process.
Frankly, in the 27 plus years I've been with OLA, I have never seen this before. I will say we have had suspicions periodically, but we have never been able to prove it, to document it, and we did in this case.
During a nearly 2.5-hour-long hearing today, lawmakers learned the legislative auditor found serious issues with how DHS manages and oversees a multi-million-dollar grant program. This taxpayer money is supposed to go toward prevention and treatment of mental health and substance use disorders, but the audit found multiple instances of inadequate internal controls.
Auditors asked the Minnesota Department of Human Services for documents that were supposed to already exist. Documentation showing oversight, site visits, and proof that services were actually provided. At first, DHS said that those documents did not exist. Then magically, poof, after auditors pressed, the documents suddenly appeared. Not only that, auditors determined that at least one document was created from scratch and backdated by 2 years, just to make it look legitimate. Think about what has to happen for a document to be backdated. Someone has to know the rule. They have to know the deadline. And they have to know the significance of the date.
You're right.
And then decide to falsify history. So let me be very clear. This is not sloppy paperwork, nor disorganization. Someone did not forget to upload a file. This is intentional deception. It's fraudulent. And when taxpayers are on the hook for it, all parties must be held accountable. The audit focused on the Behavioral Health Administration within DHS. This division hands out nearly $200 million per year in grants for addiction services, mental health programs, and community providers. It sounds noble, but what auditors found that DHS failed to conduct required site visits. So when auditors went out to do it themselves, they discovered serious concerns that services were not being provided at all.
The OLA audited the Behavioral Health Administration within the Department of Human Services, which issues grants, nearly $200 million of taxpayer money each year, to addiction and mental health service providers. But the audit found BHA was not making sure those providers were doing the work.
BHA didn't conduct the site visits. Our auditors went and conducted the site visits that BHA should have done. And we identified serious concerns that services weren't being provided.
That means taxpayer money was sent out with no confirmation that it helped anyone. One specific grant that stands out, a $1.6 million awarded to the Wellness Collaborative tied to Zion Baptist Church in North Minneapolis.
Amazing.
Auditors say that DHS had no documentation proving services were delivered.
Services weren't being provided.
One of the grants examined by OLA was $1.6 million issued to the Wellness Collaborative through Zion Baptist Church in North Minneapolis. According to the OLA report, BHA didn't have documentation to give auditors to show that the services were rendered. What's more, the audit says the grant manager directly profited by leaving BHA.
I don't know everything when it comes to this podcast stuff, but I like to share information that I feel that you guys need to know. Like, damn, I learned that. Let me share that. I learned that. Let me share that with you guys. You know, I'm here to learn from you guys just as much as the next person. You know, information is something, and it's good to to have to share to people with. Look at my Red and the Raven. Here you go. Let me continue.
And months later, providing consulting services to the Wellness Collaborative for the grant she managed, which Randall says is not illegal.
But I think it raises a bunch of ethical questions at the very least.
Representatives at Zion strongly dispute what BHA and DHS told the auditors. They tell KARE 11 DHS sought them out for the grant. They provided services which DHS workers witnessed. They gave DHS documentation, and they say now they believe they're being scapegoated. The former grant manager told KARE 11 any wrongdoing falls squarely on DHS.
Conduct a monitoring visit to make sure the services are actually being provided. These aren't rocket science types of things.
Randall says the audit found fewer than 1 in 5 DHS workers they surveyed felt adequately trained to scrutinize how the grant money is spent. And perhaps most frustrating, this was the second audit of the Behavioral Health Administration, and many of the problems found were repeat problems.
What is it like to see these problems, make these recommendations, and nothing is done to fix it?
It's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys.
Governor Tim Walz's office says they're grateful for the auditor for her work and for identifying these serious issues. And Democratic Senator Melissa Wickland, who chairs the Health and Human Services Committee, says that it's clear that DHS has not taken actions to fix these problems as they had portrayed to the senator.
Now everyone's pointing fingers. DHS says workers weren't trained properly. Community group says DHS sought them out. This was the second audit of the same department. And again, same problems, same failures, and the same excuses. At some point, incompetence stops being believable.
The auditor published an audit of the state's Department of Human Services Behavioral Health Administration grants. I'd like to enter that report and its cover letter into the record. Without objection, so ordered. The cover letter of this report states, quote, however, during the course of our audit, we identified a number of documents that the Behavioral Health Administration either backdated or created after our audit happened, end quote. It sounds like Governor Tim Walz's Department of Human Services may have been fabricating evidence by creating documentation after the fact to mislead voters, to mislead auditors. This new report noted that one grantee who received nearly $680,000 from this agency for 1 month's work, but could not provide any documentation or proof that any work was actually completed. What's more, and this is the kicker, the report notes that the grant manager who approved this money left the agency within days of approving the grant to take a job with the very same grantee that they approved money for. So very quickly, Representative Roberts, have you ever seen anything like this in your time as a member of the Minnesota's Fraud Prevention and State Agency Oversight Policy Committee?
We have heard whistleblower reports of backdating and falsification before, and we also have a record of earlier in the CCAP, the child care fraud, where they would allow the providers to submit records far after the investigation and accept them as true. So clearly this has been a pattern at the agency and it's unacceptable.
Unbelievable. And we want to work with you. We want to work with these whistleblowers. We're serious about this. The Trump administration's on the ground. We want to catch these people and we want to put them behind bars, and we want to hold any politician that participated in these schemes accountable.
Chairman Comer promised to hold people accountable, and I hope he means it, because if nothing happens, it will once again prove that America operates under a two-tier justice system. They went as far to change the language from fraud to overbilling, because we would hate to offend these fraudsters by calling their fraud out. Instead, let's just say that they overbilled us for services never provided. This is actually insane.
Representative Robbins, do you have any examples of how the Walz administration blocked investigators from moving forward with high priority fraud investigations?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman. I've met with whistleblowers and gotten documents from them about how after the original CCAP whistleblower report came out in March and April of 2019, subsequent to that, there was an Office of Inspector General within DHS that had investigative authority to do surveillance, warrants, and seize electronics, and they were shut down. They were told they could no longer do criminal investigations. They were told they could no longer meet with the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension agents that were assigned to them without supervisor's approval. And instead, when they found one of the other members talked about how they changed the language. They went from calling it fraud to calling it overbilling, and they created an overbilling committee to all the investigative agents now couldn't do criminal investigations, and they had to flag issues of overbilling, and then a committee would decide if any of that overbilling would be recouped.
Committee appointed by Walz?
No, appointed within DHS.
Tim.
Bureaucracy.
Yes.
Governor Tim Walz's office issued a polite statement thanking auditors. Democratic leadership admitted that DHS failed to fix problems that they claimed were already resolved. The temporary DHS commissioner said that she was shocked. But here's the problem. If this system only works when no one is watching, if documentation only appears under pressure, if audits change nothing, then the system is broken by design. Mental health funds didn't reach people. Addiction services weren't verified. Taxpayers were lied to twice.
Majority of lawmakers today on both sides of the aisle appeared to be deeply troubled at that revelation that staff within the department backdated or created documents that didn't exist prior to the auditor's probe. In response, acting
I bet it had to be a liberal Karen that helped with them documents. It had to be a Karen that helped with the documents. It had to be. Once again, a liberal white woman is doing crazy shit.
DHS Commissioner Shireen Gandhi said she was shocked to learn of that incident and that the agency is now tracing back how
Allegedly.
it happened.
If somebody directed staff to falsify documents, it is absolutely wrong, not okay. It is it's an HR matter for sure. It may be more than that, as Auditor Randall discussed, and DHS is conducting a full and thorough investigation.
Commissioner Gandhi didn't elaborate on that investigation during the hearing in front of lawmakers. It's also unclear at this point if anyone has been disciplined or fired as a result. We'll keep tracking this issue.
So now that the Minnesota fraud is national news, everyone is shocked. So the real question is, will anyone actually be held accountable? Because if fabricating records inside a state agency doesn't lead to firings, prosecutions, or resignations, then audits are just theater. Keep in mind, the fraud in Minnesota is so disturbing that Vice President J.D. Vance announced that the Trump administration is creating a new Assistant Attorney General position in the White House to coordinate fraud investigations nationwide, focusing initially on Minnesota.
President Vance making a major announcement on the White House's efforts to combat fraud across the nation.
We are creating a new Assistant Attorney General position who will have nationwide jurisdiction over the issue of fraud. Now, of course, that person's efforts will start and focus primarily in Minnesota, but it is going to be a nationwide effort.
Let's bring in Senate Foreign Relations and Judiciary Committee member and chairman of the Senate Commerce Committee, Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, thanks for coming in.
It's great to be with you.
We're learning about this fraud. We're really peeling back the layers. We're seeing it not only in Minnesota, California. Today in the New York Post, they talk about this one guy who hired 12.
So yeah, don't let this Renee Good situation be a distraction about this whole bullshit that's going on with this money. Period. She shouldn't have even been there at all. And then her wife tell her baby, drive, baby. Come on, man. That's not cool, man. Should have been at home. Don't let them finish.
All of his family members was paid almost $350,000 in taxpayer money to take care of his mom, who was sick. They go when they send an investigator in. The mom isn't even here. She's in Bangladesh.
Look, the scale of the fraud.
And then, then you got Minnesota Tampon Tim, the governor, tell them, saying that they Gestapo, they bad, they Nazis, and all that. How? These are American citizens doing an American job that the president asked them to do. Because because Kamala Harris and Biden let the people in. Open border, that should even never happen. I don't know, man. And then you ask the people, let an immigrant into your house. I don't have space. I can't let them in. I don't have space. I don't live here. So why in the fuck are you there then? Come on, man.
Fraud is breathtaking. If you look just at Minnesota, since 2018, they've spent about $18 billion on Medicaid. The federal prosecutors are saying more than half of that, more than $9 billion was fraudulent, was stolen. And listen, I don't think Minnesota is going to be the worst. We were just talking a minute ago. I think you're going to see even worse in California.
Right.
I think
I'm pretty sure Chicago got something. I'm pretty sure Chicago got some things going on too as well. Yeah. Check that out.
Going to be, look, there's going to be fraud in every state. There's going to be fraud in red states too. I was very glad.
Of course,
that
it's
my
red states too.
Governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, launched.
I know it's red states too. It's just Democrat states. No, I know it's fraud everywhere. Corruption's everywhere.
Audit to go look for fraud in Texas. That's good.
Ohio too.
That needs to be done, but the problem is going to be much.
And then when it came to Obama doing his job with the ICE agents getting the immigrants deported back and all that, the Republicans didn't say anything. They didn't go out and stop them and protest and march and all that. That's why you hear nothing about when Obama was doing his part. The Democratic Party didn't say. I mean, the Republican Party didn't say nothing. There was no need. They was doing their job. It was they voted for, basically.
Much worse in the big blue states.
So what do you think? Do you think that this will finally lead to accountability, or will it get buried like everything else? Let me know in the comments. And if you got any value from this video, please make sure.
So yeah, I'm ending with that. Thank you guys for joining in with me. Appreciate it. Hope this video and sound, edit, and everything is all good for you guys. Thank you. Like and subscribe. Peace.